caffeine on the place right to know is yo the tingo. Just fix things forever.
Papanga is on the mix.
Drop it. Me know you want to have a very nice time. Yo, coming on the place, we open till it's midnight. Ice coffee flow like ocean.
All right, so T-Talk After Dark, Osei the Dark Secret, and right now I've got some distinguished guests here with me. DJ Nani.
Yes, I'm
my
right
brother.
here.
New York City.
New York City, ATL.
All right, 2unesse.
What up,
How
Georgia?
you feeling? GA.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
yes,
so,
sir.
you know, with that being said, man, a lot of discussions take place here on T-Talk After Dark. We've had a lot of the DJs that are currently, you know, in Atlanta doing their thing. Obviously, 2unesse, you're here.
Yeah.
You know, Nani, you came down from New York, so...
Yeah, December 2020.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pandemic.
Yeah.
Pandemic move.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's start with you, with just that understanding. What prompted you to come to Atlanta during that time?
I mean, Atlanta was open. New York City, you couldn't really like do events. And the final push was I did an event in New York, I think around like October, November. It was sold out. But police shut it down. So the next day, I just packed up and I just moved out here.
Man,
so,
the next day, what part of the city were you in when you did
I was in
that?
Queens, New York, yeah. But I used to come here a lot because, you know, it was open over here. Yeah. Everybody used to come to Atlanta 2020.
Right.
Then I realized this is where the money was at. So that's it's really the money, to be honest.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's really
so
the
we'll
money.
come back to Nani on that one. 2unesse, you've been out here doing your thing for a minute.
Yeah.
And, you know, respectively, I want both of you to give maybe some of your background as it relates to just, you know, your history as DJs and how that came about. So,
I mean, I started like just playing drums in church, you know. I can't sing, whatever.
Me too.
But I can count my beats. And
Me too.
So from there, I just like, you know, got into like playing with the laptop, Serato. You know, from there.
Do you think that's how you learn like the BPM system? Like,
So I didn't learn the BPM system at first until I started like going to the clubs just to see how the DJ do it. So I'd be like, okay, 130. What does 130 mean? Then I'll ask him a question. He'd be like, "Oh,
but you didn't know what it was.
So I didn't know what the BPM was, but he was doing it.
You was doing it with the band,
So,
with the band, because
it's almost it's innate.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You gotta follow
It's
the
in you.
beat. So yeah,
Exactly. So I mean, everybody still know doom, doom, doom. So I just still follow that.
Yeah.
When I DJ, so from there, little by little, just going to the club, see what they do, go home, practice. From there, you just.
What club experience for you where you weren't DJing? What club experience really said, you know what, I got to do this. I got to get behind the ones and twos.
I would say the club I started off with, like Evangadi. Yeah, that club been open for a minute. So it's like, I always go there just to like listen to Afrobeat. It's like crazy, you know. I'm not really like a hip hop fan back then, but now it's like I listen to everything, you know. Mm-hmm. But back then it's just like I just want to listen to the Afrobeat. So I'm like, you know what, I got to like keep working on this, see if I can break through or whatever.
Yeah. For you, Nani, your background as a DJ in New York, of course.
No, it didn't. Yeah, it started in New York, but I grew up in Nigeria. I've been in America like 11 years. I grew up in the East, Anambra State, yeah. So I was in a boarding school. The same thing. I was in the choir, so it was beating the drum.
African churches be like.
But mine was a seminary school to be a priest.
You were going to be a priest?
Yes.
Priest Nani?
No. Yes, it was a situation like that.
Something in common.
Oh, see, you didn't mention that part. I was in boarding school and I used to be in the choir, you feel me? So every evening, like, we would practice. I didn't know how to sing, so I used to like beat the drums for them. So when I finally moved to the US, I started going to church again. I was in a choir. Then I remember my sister took me to the club. That was my first time ever hearing a DJ.
What club in New York?
Tropical Grill.
Tropical Grill.
That's where like most of the DJs in New York started.
Okay.
You know, you could talk about like tunes. If you're a DJ in New York, it started from Tropical Grill. Everybody knows this. You feel me? My sister took me there for the first time. And that was my first time seeing a DJ. I didn't know what the fuck, excuse my language, I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what it was. So I was like, so you can really do this with music, like transition music like that. Then I remember I went back again. I was like, nah, I have to see how these people are doing this with music. I remember it was DJ, shout out to DJ Freshie K. He's from New York. He was DJing. I went behind him and I just looked at the software. I went home, downloaded the software, and started playing with it. From there, I got good. My mom, shout out to my mom, she got me a gig in the church.
What up, Mom?
She really
Shout
put
out
me
to all
on.
the
She got me a
moms.
gig in the church. Like, oh, my son is a DJ. He can do this. Then I went, I did that. I tested the first money. I was like, oh, so I can make money from doing this.
Yes, so.
From that, I never stopped. I just kept going. For me. So that's really how I started.
Dope. Okay. When for both of you coming to Atlanta, what does the energy feel like being on that side of things with the music? Because a lot of people have the understanding that Atlanta is certainly a place, if you're in Afrobeat, that you have to come through or have to come to. What are your thoughts on that, Nani, coming from New York?
I think I'm going to speak honestly, right? Being in the African scene, the Afrobeat scene, it's more resources in New York than Atlanta. Maybe
Speak on that.
maybe I'm not really like tapped in with the people that, the people that shoot music videos, the writers, the PRs, all of that. It's a lot of them in New York City. Like we have a lot of, just in the entertainment scene. Harlem, when you go out there, it's a lot of black people doing dope stuff. But since I've been out here, I haven't really seen that. You feel me? I'm just not meeting you for the first time.
No. And I mean, and sometimes I know that, Atlanta, it's a little bit different in the sense, I feel like everything is accessible in Atlanta. In New York, well,
I would disagree with you.
okay. Well, let me give you my reason why.
Yeah.
The reason why is because on an intentional level, just alongside the mainstream music, meaning hip hop, everything else, any of the people that you want to meet,
Hip hop,
you can
yes.
meet them here.
Hip hop, yes.
Right? But I know the
You're
African
talking about
scene,
Afrobeat.
right? But even Africans, that's the first stop being New York. But I think that Atlanta, on an intentional level, and I know you're just kind of coming here and getting acclimated a little bit. So maybe some people might be a little intimidated, when they see Nani come, and they shouldn't be, because at the end of the day,
He's been here, right?
Yeah.
Let me just ask you, how many PRs do you know? Or like, let's say, dope videographers that is like really, really accessible to you when you need something done?
Not a lot that I can count on, but it's few of them out here.
You're talking about photographers, right? I'm
Yes.
talking about PR.
well, I think
No,
we're looking,
I mean-
but if you let's
I'm looking at people that
differentiate.
actually like
Because
will.
if you're talking about PR, we're looking at people who are. If you're looking at just Africans on the PR side.
But we here because of Afrobeat, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So when we come back, we're gonna finish that up and get more of an understanding of what the resources are.
That way, don't make me move that way.
Okay, so welcome back to Tea Talk After Dark, Osei the Dark Secret, and we were getting ready to have a very spirited conversation about resources as it relates to Afrobeat. And Nani was on his way to really expressing some things about New York and then Atlanta and just the ability to find things like PR and
Writers.
Now, when you say writers, are you talking about songwriters?
No, blog
writers.
Yeah.
So let's just let's unpack that for a minute.
Okay.
And the reason I'm saying what I say is that in Atlanta you have a whole music scene that's just a mainstream scene, right? In New York, I feel like there's been plenty of us for ages in New York City who have been waiting for this opportunity. So just the sheer numbers and understanding that Africans come to that's like the first port that you come to in the U.S. typically could be New York City. So I feel like that opportunity has been waiting there. Well, Atlanta now. That's because but I think the Atlanta opportunity was intentional because, for me, it was about breaking music here and saying, okay, we can do it alongside what hip hop is already doing, in Atlanta. So oftentimes you might be looking to PR people who are in the mainstream, and when I say mainstream, hip hop, but they didn't understand Afrobeat. Whereas you have plenty of talented people in New York who are just waiting on this opportunity. So I think it's natural in New York City always because Madison Avenue is there. Everything else is just naturally in New York City. So I won't ever take that away.
So you agree with me?
Well, I think to an extent. In context now, Nani, let's be clear now. In context. Nani, you going to try to pull me?
Before we get into it, right, I just want to know, do you agree with me, yes or no?
As far as, let me so I know what I'm agreeing to.
As far as
in New York City, like, it's more resources for Africans to actually, like, get things
I do believe that there are more resources for Africans to progress.
In New York.
And move forward.
In New York.
In New York.
Okay, yeah.
But
So
I would
we
tell
agree.
you that I feel like the music broke here in Atlanta
Afrobeat?
Yeah.
Nope.
nationally.
why you said it? Why you say that?
Yeah.
ATL, right? Let's take Africans aside, because Africans, we have always like listened to African music.
Sure.
What I've learned about in Atlanta, right? I feel like it lacks, I don't want to use the word there's no culture, but it lacks a lot of the things that the culture actually needs. You feel me? You being a DJ, how often do you play Jamaican music in the club, Spanish music in the club, stuff like that? If it's not just like 1, 2, 3 or 1, 2, 3 songs. New York City, you can't DJ without playing. You've been to New York parties. You gotta play Spanish music, Haitian music, this, that, and the third. So it made sense for Afrobeat to actually like blow up in New York City because you have other cultures there that's willing to listen to songs that are not just hip hop.
And I would say the same about going to the West Coast. So when you go to LA, because you have such a large mainstream Hispanic, Asian, other white population, and they love Afrobeat just as much, it looks different in those spaces. Just like New York, it looks different in those spaces because it's a deeper melting pot. In Atlanta, everybody's black.
Right.
So, yes, to a degree, but hold on. It took it happening ground level here in Atlanta before it could. Yeah, because it's like hip hop.
So you feel like
before hip hop
Afrobeat
goes mainstream,
break out like in
it had
New
to
York
it had to start here
before Atlanta.
New York. Like
No, I disagree with that though.
for Afrobeat okay, let me use this as an example, right? For Afrobeat to actually blow up, right? It wasn't really like the pure Americans, like the black people that was born here, that was even tapped into Afrobeat. It was Caribbeans. It was Spanish people, white people. Before the black people are just now catching on to Afrobeat.
The African American are just not tapping in.
There you go. And what did you say? Over here is majority black people.
But I disagree. I think that everybody from the mainstream, like if you come 10 years ago, everybody from the mainstream that was black was coming to the African club, like Cream, and they were getting a taste of it. But the Caribbean culture has always been at the forefront, first. Without dancehall, you don't even have hip
You're a
hop.
DJ.
Yeah, I agree with what you're
And
saying.
you've played at American spots, right?
Yeah.
What happens when you play Afrobeat past like 30 minutes, just straight Afrobeat? At an American party.
American party. Now they accept it more. But before it's like they'll just be like, can you please change the song, you know.
But New York,
But now it's like
it's always been like that. Like you could go to an American party and just be playing Afrobeats. That's what I'm trying to tell ya. Or Jamaican music. When I say I'm like 2016, 2017,
so you're talking about
2018.
like that time when
It just started blowing up.
Songs started coming out.
You cannot turn on the radio in New York and not hear Afrobeat.
It's the same as here though.
But that's
because here it's like
Here
there
was
was even
afterwards.
the Americans would request
if we're
for
talking about
those
it
type
on
of
the
songs.
radio, because you just said you couldn't turn on the radio in 2016 without hearing it. We're talking about
Before that.
2008, 9 in Atlanta on the radio. You know what I mean? Before it was a thing.
Yeah.
Because everybody thought it was reggae. They thought WizKid record was reggae. So I think that they were just willing to accept it. But you know that it's made it when you can play it in those spaces and everybody embrace it.
Yeah.
That's my game.
But what songs were they playing then on the radio? Give me an example. You said
Oliver
2010.
Twist, right? Those type of songs.
I wasn't in America then, so I wouldn't know.
So
I'm speaking from. I came to America in 2011.
So that's the reason why I'm saying, and I'm not mad at New York being a frame of reference. I love New York. We know that New York is where hip hop.
New York is the mecca.
Right.
Yeah, I've been here since '08. So those type of songs, I was hearing it on the radio. Yeah.
And that's just the thing about.
Shout out to the people
Atlanta.
that did that though.
Yeah. That's all, and that's all it is to it. You know what I mean? It's not a knock on New York. Shout out to DJ Enough and all those guys, but it was going in Atlanta, and I say that
even DJ Self, his Nigerian.
Underground though.
The
underground always has to start somewhere.
Breakthrough. That's what he's talking about.
Can I just say something? I feel like us being the African DJs, right? We get the short end of the stick when it comes to like
that's
Afrobeat blowing up in America.
That's true.
And I feel like we mostly did most of the jobs for this artist to get to where they was targeting to get.
How did the artists handle the DJs?
They don't.
You want to speak on that?
They don't.
Go ahead. Unpack it.
I could. I'm looking at other cameras. I could boldly say that.
Unpack it because everybody
tell
needs to
them,
understand.
Nani. Tell them.
I could boldly say that it's a lot of DJs out here that will really that really pushed the culture. I could name them, if you know me. Somebody like Zemo, somebody like D-Money from Chicago. Those two guys actually are like the forefathers of like us playing Afrobeat in the club. These two guys I just mentioned, they really put Afrobeats in their back and took it to where it's at right now. And I feel like they don't get that credit. I'm talking like 08, 09. Those two guys was hot. You feel me? See how like Tunes, Equal right now?
Equal was hot.
That was them. Too. That was them back then. Like
DJ
they was
Majesty, you know.
I just recently know Majesty.
Like those DJs.
I'm speaking about people that just coming up as a DJ that I looked up to.
Oh, okay.
You feel me? These two guys, like just looking at them now, I feel like they deserve a lot of credit that they don't get. Now, when you come down to it, you got DJs like us. You feel me? We like the new school now. We pushing the culture the way that we can.
Yeah.
And I feel like the artists are not really tapped in with the DJs. How often do you get artists that would do like drops for you?
Very, I'll say.
It's unheard of. You feel me?
So hard.
And when they come out here, they don't really care about the DJs. They just come out here for their money and go back to Nigeria. Yep. So it's really not fair. But what can we do? That we don't have a structure set in place for everybody to benefit from it.
That's what we really like it, because I work with American DJs as well.
Their artists show them love.
Their artists show them big, like they will pull up to your club, buy the whole section out, whatever they got to do.
You love.
If they get plaques, whatever, you know, you stuff like that.
Yeah.
But us is like, oh, let's have this meeting so we can push this song. But when you pushing the song, people recognize the song. We don't get nothing back.
Let me give you a theory on why it's like that from the African artists. Mm-hmm. They don't really know how the music is broken. Yeah, they just think the music is so good that they just like me. That's how artists can be, even hip-hop artists. Mm-hmm. So, but in America, if you really understand just the history of hip-hop, in New York, the DJ got more credit than the artist.
Yeah. Exactly.
Just on hip-hop.
Yeah.
Right? So therefore, you always had to go to the DJ to get your music out to the masses. Whereas with Afrobeat, everybody's across the water. They're just like, they love me. I'm so great. I'm just this artist.
I'm a dope artist.
They don't, I'm just so dope.
Yeah.
But they don't know that there's a process. And a lot of times, to me, a lot of artists skip the process. They don't even want to come over here and work. If I'm making $60K in Nigeria, you expect to go to St. Louis and make $60,000? There's not enough people to support your music. You have to come work your record. And that's what makes the culture move. IOJ came to St. Louis, and I put him on in the club. Yeah. Olive Bar.
Just so that IOJ, that's a New Yorker.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is, and his team went to school in St. Louis. Mm-hmm. So again, I understand, and I still feel like it's still a lot more work to do. So it's not done, but we're creating an ecosystem that we got to start to perfect. And I think that the DJ does deserve a lot more credit. The DJ has to be acknowledged, but we have to just acknowledge all parts because I think that this game is going to suffer from the same thing that everybody else suffers from, which is me. I did it.
Yeah.
As opposed to acknowledge what's really happening.
Yeah. It's a teamwork.
Absolutely.
We all do it without even knowing like
Absolutely.
what we actually doing. You feel what I mean?
I mean, because it's in us. But let's talk about just Caribbean culture.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying, and its influence on just what's happening with Afrobeat and why we are where we are. I mean, how do you feel? You obviously play a lot of Caribbean music, and you're known for that. Which salute to you for that, Nani, because you just have some deep crates. Everybody
That's
is
from
not
being from
really-
New York.
Right. Well, yeah.
To be honest, in Nigeria, I didn't listen to dancehall.
Yeah.
Oh.
So being in New York, you got to go with what the system that works.
But dancehall was always at the forefront just because of being reggae, just because of Bob Marley.
That's
and
reggae.
dancehall is
Reggae
at the
and
forefront
dancehall is
of
different.
hip hop, and we
Yeah.
always forget that. You know what I'm saying? So
So how come that culture is not down here?
Well, I
Why
think
do you
it's
think-
always been here. No,
I do not.
Nani. We got to go to the east side.
I'm talking about Atlanta.
No, we have to go to the east side. We got to go on Memorial Drive. You going to be here for Carnival this year?
That's where
'Cause you came during
you
the
are sending me
pandemic.
where the Jamaicans live, right?
Well,
That's what you sending me.
just like if I was sending
I'm
you to
talking
Gwinnett,
about
that's
any
where the
regular
Africans.
party, any regular party.
Well, as a whole, I think
Even
it
the
took
Africans.
So you saying the party up north is like mixed with
time. It is.
different everybody?
Everybody.
DC
Okay.
is the same way. I came from DC to
Yeah,
Atlanta.
yeah.
So DC
It's
gave
the same
me
way,
everything.
yeah.
DC.
Even when in this
So-
DMV,
so-
when you play Afrobeats, you don't just play Nigerian
You talking about
music.
like for
You
now?
play Sierra
The
Leone,
crowds now?
Liberian.
So you raise an interesting point now.
talking about the crowds now or then?
Hey, Julius,
we're talking about now.
Julius, let's unpack this real quick because
I'm
he
in
said
now.
something about. That's another important point. A lot of times, some of the Nigerian DJs will only want to play Nigerian music.
They play what the consumer that listens to
Well,
out here.
to a degree, but I'm saying
I've gone out of my way to do a 20 minutes Ghanaian set especially for Ghanaian independence
and I'm not
in the
just
club.
now,
No,
let
I'm
me-
just trying to make a point, right?
Yeah.
I've done it, and I could see the reaction. The consumers, like the club goers, right, out here wasn't put onto those songs. I'm playing it. Few people knew it, but most of the people don't know it. And it dies down to the DJs out here, like you, like the next DJ, the other DJs, do they really actually like push those songs on people? Most DJs, like, they play what's acceptable
Radio
to the
right
crowd,
now,
what's popping, what's popular. But it's our job to put people onto songs. And if we don't do that, if they haven't been playing Ghanaian music out here in the clubs, they're not just about to start now.
Yeah.
And so to your point, you make an excellent point, and you're right. I think that it's also just understanding that, one, Nigeria is the New York of Africa.
Mm-hmm.
Ghanaian music, in the sense, one, a lot of times I think, and this is me, being Ghanaian, first generation.
Actually, don't fault
here,
you guys, bro.
It's really about the fact that sometimes not knowing that you have to be doing some type of pidgin or something that allows everybody to understand what your music is. So that it can really, it can go.
Yeah.
So with Nigerian music or with the Nigerian artists, a lot of them were doing that. And it's easier to show those numbers.
Yeah.
That's why even for me to say, okay, with a Wiz Kid, hey, this can cross over. Everybody's not going to cross over, and that's okay. It's not about it crossing over per se. It's just about how do we
there
give
was a
us
point where
sound.
Ghanaian music was rated higher than Nigerian music. The high life music.
Hold that thought, Nani. Nani's gonna say he always says something real explosive. We'll come right back on T-Talk After Dark.
What year
It
was
was.
Right
this?
here.
High life was bigger than Afrobeats. You didn't know this?
When was this?
It's so easy.
Reporting live from Atlanta, Georgia. T-Talk After Dark right here at Ike's. And of course, Nani. Nani always says something always that's fiery right before we have to go take a break. All right? So we were talking about Ghana and just where Ghana was at as far as Afro beats. And I think you were making a very valid point. But at the same time, you know, I understand that the numbers.
Yeah.
Okay? So when we talk about Nigeria, hands down, we understand Nigeria has the population. I mean, if I go to Moscow, the first Africans I look for are Nigerians, right? It doesn't matter where in the world. Just because the numbers.
You got too much.
Now, Ghana has become the gateway to the continent, just from a travel perspective, right? And so now, to that point, I want you to go ahead and unpack a little bit more of what you were saying. Nani.
I only said it was not that serious. I just said back in the days, high life music was bigger than Afrobeats. But Ghana really didn't capitalize on that. And they let Afrobeat take over from high life music. Because nowadays, Ghanaian artists, they still make high life music. There's that little high life that they sneak in there because it's very appealing, you know?
So, you know, as it relates to high life, I have a perspective that now all genres are coming from the continent. So South African house, everything now, Amapiano, everything now is not going to be just Afrobeat.
You know, right now, Afrobeat is fighting with Amapiano. It's like a battle.
I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
No.
All they listen to right now is Amapiano. Most of the Afrobeat songs you play in the club is what? Answer. Most of the Afrobeat songs or African songs you play in the club right now. I'm saying right now.
I may not agree with Nani.
No, right now. Yeah, I'm about to tell you.
Right?
So the thing with Afrobeat is Afrobeat always blends in with whatever is raining right now.
Nigerian artists are hopping on the Amapiano vibe because that's what's working right now. If Ghana music right now come up with a different sound, I'll see how you guys came up with Azonto, right? Wizkid has an Azonto song. That's what makes...
No, so you say Afrobeat will hop on that if Ghana come up with a beat that come up right now.
If it's working, everybody will make it.
But Afrobeat have its own unique sound that they can still create no matter what's raining right now. Like the drill music is raining right now. Afrobeat didn't jump on that.
Burna Boy did.
Wait, who? It's just that one Ghanaian song. What else?
Yeah, but the drill music is raining in where?
Up north, down south right now.
No, it's not.
African right now is raining.
In Africa,
UK
drill music, right?
Yeah, it started with UK, right, didn't it?
No. You're talking about hip hop now. We're talking about drill music in Africa, right? Where they try to like use a hip hop beat to make it sound like African song, right? That's in Ghana. It's very big in Ghana.
Yeah, Kumerica.
Yeah, Kumerica. Now, what other country in Africa is that sound big in?
Nowhere else, but I'm saying
I rest my case. If it's that big, Nigerians, if it's that big,
where? South Africa and now in Nigeria.
No, Ghana, everywhere.
That's because Afrobeat is hopping on it.
2unesse.
That's what I'm saying. If drill music is hot right now, why Afrobeat
2unesse, you have a question.
So to the point of which just the sounds. I think one of the things that benefits Ghana is the tourism. So now you get an opportunity to experience different sounds when you get a chance to travel. But South African house, and I'm not just saying this because, you know, Amapiano as a whole, across the continent, it's not just going to be that. There's going to be other sounds that come and just work.
But right now, what's working?
Amapiano is working, and I agree.
Which is why a lot of Nigerians are doing Amapiano.
I mean,
songs.
Shout out to Necktunes, Ghanaian. I mean, listen, the reality is that it's a good look across the board because our sounds are starting to infiltrate the mainstream, period. Now, the reason I feel like Amapiano works is because it's black EDM. That's why it's going to go.
Anybody can
furthest.
listen to it.
Everybody can listen. It doesn't matter.
White person, black person, Indian.
So
of course,
it's going to cross over and it's going to do some things that we haven't yet seen.
Never seen.
Break a lot of
and that's a great thing. So we should be happy about it. But speaking of that, let's switch gears and just this is the last question for tonight. Is do you feel as if the music, Afrobeat, Amapiano, even let's throw that in there, is it a phase? Or is it here to stay?
It's here to stay. And we as the curators, right, in America, because it's getting big in America, we need to find a way to get paid also from this growing company.
Yeah.
It's sad to say, but we don't have an industry. Afrobeat is getting big in America, but we do not we have zero industry for Afrobeat in America.
That's true.
There is no system that is put in place for us to benefit from it. There's a lot of artists out here that do music that they don't even see anything from it. Like they invest their ad-end money into music out here, they don't get no returns because we don't have an industry from it. But the artists in Nigeria, they found a way to, eat good from it. Us in America, we just got to find a way to tap into that.
Because what's happening in America is what happens to like hip hop, everything else. And if we're not careful, the music will get colonized. I'll say that. Yeah.
You think so?
Oh, absolutely.
I don't think so. I don't think Afrobeat can ever lose like that originality.
Really can't.
Well, when I say the originality is not the question. The artistry is not the question.
You're talking about the people that are eating from
beneficial,
it. They're already
stuff.
doing that. What year did Sonny sign Wizkid, Davido, Techno, all of them? That was a long time ago. The main people that control the music scene in America is already eating from Afrobeat.
Yeah.
And so what I'm saying is us being in front of being the primary individuals that benefit from it. So when you say that we're not benefiting...
How can we? That's a very important question that everybody, if you're in this industry or if you're a DJ, media person, writer, PR, how can we, the commoners that has been pushing this culture, how can we eat from it?
Well, you know what? I like to end on that note.
You thinking like...
That's a question. If you're watching this, that's a question. Just leave a comment. Leave a comment.
Like
let us know what we need to do.
Give them a contract or whatever. What you thinking of? No. Like, I'm saying like there's a company. Like, let's say there's a company like all this American. Like, let's say Olamide sign somebody now.
Yeah.
Their song is blowing, got to America, but they don't have a way where.
I'm saying forget those people. Forget
no. I'm saying
forget Wizkid
because they are
forget David.
All over
their fan base is in Africa.
But you talking about as us,
America now?
That's here.
There's so many Afrobeat consumers out here. It's even the American people, the white people, the black people. If you know me, so how can we tap in with those people where we can see some type of revenue from whatever we're putting out for them? Which upcoming artists have blown? If the artist is not based in Africa, which one? Ayoje blew up. Then
I think World will blow.
World will, it's.
You saying you think?
I believe it.
For World to get to where he at right now, right? Guess who he worked with? SARS. In Nigeria.
Yeah.
He went back home.
But you always should go home and be a bridge.
No. And people in the UK that do Afrobeat, right? They didn't go home to build that bridge. I'm saying us here in America. Let's just forget African people or going back home. I'm just saying us that are in America. There's so many Africans out here that consume Afrobeats. How can we tap in with them?
So listen. I know as we wind it down, Nani always.
Let me just say one thing before you cut it off, right? I have a solution in mind. In my work, it might not work, but I feel like if we have people that work with like Apple Music, Spotify, make a playlist and let those companies like actually push it. It's gonna work. Let's say if I drop a song now, right? It's on a playlist where it's being pushed to all these Africans because they have a way to target like the market out here. They could push it to Africans that live in America. Oh, listen to this. Just dropped by this person.
So there's no Afrobeat playlist on Apple
that caters just for Afrobeat artists in America. No.
So listen, as we close out, I want to just say I think that it's important to focus on the diaspora. And it's not about Africans being geographical. It's about the consciousness on a global scale. So if we tap into the diaspora, you'll always win. No question.
We've been tapping in with them. We haven't seen Chichi.
Everybody.
We've been tapping in with them.
Yo.
DJ Nani, 2unesse, T-Talk After Dark. We'll
Thank you guys for having us, man. We really appreciate it. I go by the name DJ Nani.
We still gonna come back and talk about this.
I go by the name DJ Nani. Thank you, for having us. Signing
DJ
out.
2unesse, checking out. Thank y'all for having us.
God bless.
We didn't talk about that part where Afrobeat is dying down now.
Ice caffeine on the place right to know is yo the tingo. Jah fix things forever.
Papanga is on the mix.
Drop it. Me know ya want fi have a very nice time. Yo, coming on the place we open till it's midnight. Ice coffee flow like ocean.